going to give you a video that will shatter every American's view that they have of Ireland. Not really, kind of. It depends on how much you know about modern Ireland, and I guess if you've actually been there. If you've been there, you'll know all this stuff already. My home country of Ireland is a beautiful, wonderful place, but if you were to believe everything you see in films and television shows, you would be deluded, because what goes on screen is not necessarily what happens in real life. I've learned that the hard way by visiting America. Not the hard way, like they were pleasant experiences, but as in they're different to what you see in movies and on TV shows, and the same is true of Ireland.
Ireland doesn't like pubs anymore.
If you're brand new here, you've never seen me before in your life, I'm Diane, I'm from Ireland, I live in Ireland sometimes, and sometimes I live in Spain. Around here, people seem to enjoy being threatened, so subscribe, like, comment, otherwise an Irish curse will befall you, and that curse will be, next time you leave the house, you're gonna go out thinking, hey, I look pretty fly for me, but then you're gonna get home hours later and realize that you had a little bit of something stuck in your teeth all day long, and nobody told you. That sucks. So like, share, subscribe, comment. Okay, so the first thing that may come as a shock to you if you've seen portrayals of Ireland with poverty, people in shawls, and huddling around fireplaces is that Ireland is actually a very wealthy country. It's actually one of the most richest countries in the world. That sentence was poorly constructed, but you catch my drift. A consequence of that is it's really expensive. So if you're visiting the Isle of Ireland, do come with a few quid in your pocket because it's expensive. The next thing only occurred to me after I was discussing it with somebody in comments, so do talk to me in comments, especially in the first hour club, because I learn things from you, and hopefully you learn things from me. It's that we don't have the right to bear arms in Ireland. Conversation came up on my second channel when somebody was talking about how girls should always walk around carrying pepper spray or mace, and that's actually illegal in Ireland. You're not allowed to carry any weaponry around with you. If you are caught carrying a weapon, you can be charged and go to prison for a long time. I guess that would depend on if you had priors and stuff, but you know, relative. This would include walking around carrying a kitchen knife. That could be used as a weapon and you could be charged. However, if you can come up with a viable excuse to carry something, you'll be okay. For example, officer, I was carrying this blood-covered chainsaw because I was using it to cut down trees and I cut my finger. The trees are somewhere else. So while you may have known that big things like pew-pews were illegal, it's also illegal to carry any kind of thing that could be used as a weapon. Arguably, your keys could be used as a weapon, but I don't think that it's quite as clear-cut with like car keys. Clear-cut things, you know? The next thing that might shock you when you come to Ireland is how sparse the population is. The population has 7 million people in it. And if you just visit Dublin, you're not going to get what I mean, because Dublin has 1/4 of the entire country's population in it. In contrast, everywhere else might seem a bit empty. There are, of course, other cities, Limerick, Cork. They're quite populated, but not as much so as Dublin. The next thing that might shock you when you come to Ireland is that no, green fields are not everywhere. We do have infrastructure, as I said, big buildings, cities, but when you do see the green fields, the colour may in fact shock you. I've never seen the colour of green grass as green anywhere else in the world, and it really does look like a painting. When you're from Ireland and you live there, you definitely take this stuff for granted, but around every corner is a picture-perfect scene. Well, not every corner, like we have gross places too, but mostly it's very picture-perfect on a sunny day. If it's raining, less so. There are indeed castles around nearly every corner in the countryside. Oh, there's another castle, there's another castle. So if you come as a tourist and you're looking to take pictures, don't take pictures of everything because you're just gonna have a bajillion pictures. Which isn't bad, but just know that. The next thing that might shock you about Ireland is that the first language of Ireland is not English, it's Irish. Now, since the whole Brexit debacle, Ireland is very much being pushed commercially as the foremost English-speaking country in Europe. But English is not our first language. Officially, the first language remains to be Irish, the Irish language as Gaeilge. Every street sign comes in the Irish language, and of course it comes in English too, because a lot of Irish people still can't speak the Irish language. This is probably going to sound confusing, but we're brought up speaking English generally, except in Gaeilge areas of Ireland, and it's not taught very well, so a lot of us can't actually speak Irish, but indeed Irish is our first language, technically speaking. The next thing that might shock you when you come to Ireland is that the shamrock is not the national symbol of Ireland, it's in fact the harp. So there you go. The next thing you might come expecting when you visit Ireland is that we're a very religious country, and this was definitely true up until maybe the 80s. Ireland historically was very Catholic. Everything Irish people said and did was under the veil of the Irish Church and what they were allowed to do, what they weren't allowed to do. But in recent years, the past few decades, it's become an extremely liberal country. So if you come expecting very old-fashioned views on things, you're probably going to be very surprised. The next thing that might surprise you about Ireland is the roads are shit. Sorry, there's no other way of saying it. They tend to be not very good. Of course, in the bigger places, we have motorways and great roads and stuff, but if you find yourself staying somewhere in the countryside or visiting, you are literally going to be driving down a dirt track of windy roads. So just be prepared for that. You're going to have a great skill set, especially if you're not used to manually driving. Maybe opt for the automatic when you are renting a car. The next thing that shouldn't surprise you, but it might when you come to Ireland, is that the Irish population are becoming increasingly diverse. I've often seen it said when I've done videos with people of colour, oh, that person isn't Irish, and you're wrong. There are lots of people of colour who are Irish, who were born in Ireland and raised in Ireland. Irish people come in all colours and from all ethnic backgrounds. Who run the world? Girls. Well, that's how the song went. But in Ireland, we actually do have a good history of Irish women running the country. We had 2 of the first female presidents in the whole world. I personally do think it's about time we had a woman in the real driver's seat of the country as the Prime Minister, or what we call the Taoiseach. Who that will be, I don't know, but it's about time we had one. Ireland is also very progressive in terms of gender equality. On some levels, I will say, behind closed doors, I still think the women do the majority of the housework and the child raising, no matter what their husbands say. Things could definitely improve in that arena. The next thing that might surprise you if you come to Ireland is that the food quality is generally really good. And this is because of very strict limits that are put on food quality in Ireland. Even McDonald's has to serve the best cuts of Irish beef. There has to be a minimum level of quality to the food served, and hormones and additives are very strictly regulated in Ireland. So a lot of the food will taste fresher than maybe you would see in general in other places in the world. And I think that's a great thing. And the final thing that may shock you when you come to Ireland is hearing that Ireland discovered America before Christopher Columbus. Now, you can argue with this or not, but many people within Ireland claim that a monk known as Saint Brendan actually discovered America before Christopher Columbus. It is said that Saint Brendan travelled to the continent in the 6th century. Apparently, all he did was take a look and go, what a lovely place, and left it there. Now, I think some of you might have some arguments about that below in the comments, so do let me know your thoughts on it. Shout out today to some very special people. The first special person is Brian Ediger. Brian is going through some stuff himself right now, and he wants to shout out anyone who's dealing with the loss of a loved one or other health issues, either their own or a loved one's. He says it's difficult to deal with, but we can all get through it together. The second lovely shout out comes from Kimber. Kimber wants to shout out firefighters. If you or a loved one is a firefighter, she says a big thank you for working with healthcare, car crashes, actual fires, children's car seats, and of course she says they love dogs, so they're good in my books for sure too. Great shout outs, guys, and if you want to join the Patreon community, you are more than welcome to at the link below. I usually upload a couple of videos a week there, and we have a really cool community of people too, so if you want to check it out, do. That's it for today's video. I'll see you on the other side. Bye. He's very confused. He doesn't know where to sit. You can sit up here if you want to be in the video, bud. You're gonna sit up here and then you can be in the video. Yeah? I know, it's very important to him. You need a little scooch. Needs a little scooch. Okay. It's important to him that he's in the video. If you want your head in, you have to turn around. No, you just want your bum in. Okay. The next thing if around here people seem, next time you go out, you're gonna think you look fly, but when you get home, you're gonna realize there was something wrong. Next time you go out, you're gonna think, hey, I look pretty good for me today, and then you're gonna get home and you're gonna realize you were walking all around day. Next time you're gonna go out, you leave the house thinking, hey, I look pretty. Okay, the first thing that might come as a shock to you is Ireland is really... Okay, the first thing that might come as a shock to you if you've seen... Okay, so the first thing I have a hair situation going on here. Like, this side is fine. This side is fine. But they're sisters, not twins. You catch my drift? They don't match. But we're just gonna roll with it.